Hey guys, Sean T. Phillips here on that brand new DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Taking to go out today, see what things came out, see what things are on sale. I know today one of the big releases that came out was, A Quiet Place, and Best Buy has an exclusive steelbook of that one. I'm actually going to have a little look at that at the end of this video as well, a closer look at the steelbook, so definitely stay tuned for that. Also going to be a bunch of new DVD and Blu-ray reviews for some things I received to review and talk about for you guys. Some really cool stuff like Doom Asylum from Arrow Video, and some new upcoming Vestron video releases, so definitely stay tuned for those. But today though, I'm going to try and go to a couple spots that I haven't been to in a while. I'm going to try and go to Barnes and Noble for the Criterion sale, because the 50% off sale, because there's one specific thing I want to get for that. But anyway though guys, let's get going and see what we can find today. Into Target we go. I also wanted to make sure to let you guys know, for those wondering, next week I will be at the San Diego Comic-Con, and I'll be doing some videos there. But if there's anything, specifically you guys would like me to show, like any booths or any certain type of items, or exclusive or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. Also, I'll mention that as well next week as well. But, like I said, I just want to let you guys know I will be there for those who have been asking if, I'll be going and filming and everything. And here today, like I mentioned, one of the big things that came out is A Quiet Place, and they don't seem to have that one put out yet, but it seems like everything else is out. But the 4K of that one's $24.99, and the standard Blu-ray is $19.99. Also, Chappaquiddick, that one released today, which I talked about this one a week or so back. I thought this was actually pretty interesting about, the Ted Kennedy, about the girl that went off he drove off the bridge with who ended up dying, and kind of the whole cover-up with him and all the stuff that he was up to. Also, Lean on Pete released today, and this movie that stars Charlie Plummer and Chloe Sevigny and Steve Buscemi. This one, I really like this one. I would highly recommend you guys check this out, about this kid who's living with his father, and his father's like an alcoholic, and he ends up helping Steve Buscemi's character, who is a guy who has these horses that he goes to horse tracks and races, and that's kind of the only way he makes any money, and kind of becomes friends with this one horse. And it's sort of about the whole thing that happens, and it takes a really big turn midway through this movie, but a very, very sad film, but really, really well made. Highly recommend you guys check this one out. Also, 211 released today, the new Nicolas Cage film, and I'll be talking about this one at the end of this video, as well as the 4K of Equalizer, and this is another one. I'll be reviewing this one at the end of this video, and that one's only $19.99 for the 4K, so that's a very good price on that. Also, Future World, which James Franco was one of the co-directors on. This one came out today. This one has like a Mad Max Waterworld type vibe. I really love Milla Jovovich in this. I thought she was like absolutely amazing in this crazy character that she plays in this, and it's about this kid, who has to try and travel through the desert to try and get this cure for his mother who's sick, and this also deals with him like getting help from this robot that James Franco kind of activates. But really, really like this one a lot. Definitely another one I would recommend you guys check out. It has mixed reviews, but I really thought it was a cool movie. Krystal comes out, that William H. Macy directed, and it stars the kid from Love, Simon, and Rosario Dawson, and his character has like this heart condition and ends up kind of falling in love with Rosario Dawson's character, and kind of following her to AA meetings and stuff. And this other one, I have not seen this one. If you guys have seen this one, let me know how this is. This movie with Helen Mirren and Donald Sutherland called A Laser Seeker. Like this one, I don't know a ton about this, so if you've seen this one, let me know if this one's worth checking out. But other than that, like I said, that's all the major things in here today. But like I said, they don't seem to have put out the Quiet Place yet. Into Walmart we go. And in here, like I said, one of the big things that came out today was, A Quiet Place, and the standard Blu-ray of that one is $19.96, and the 4K is $27.96. Other than that in here, though, some of the other ones that came out, they have Chappaquiddick as well as this show here called Mosaic, which I've not seen this one. If you guys know anything about this one, let me know how this one was. But they also have, I gotta try and get it back. They also have I Am Elizabeth Smart released today. Lean on Pete, they have the DVD of that. They have Krystal as well as this BBC series here, like SSGB. Don't know anything about this, but it's kind of weird here. They have Future World here, but has a sticker on here that says only at Walmart. And I don't see anything exclusive on this release here or anything. It seems to be the same stuff, and they just had this one at Target. So that's weird. Like I said, if you guys know anything what's exclusive to these ones, let me know. It has it on Yeah, so I don't know if I think I know what it is. Maybe it's that it has now I figured it out. It has a DVD included in this, as you know, the one at Target and the other ones just have a Blu-ray and a digital copy. So the DVD, you know, included in here is the exclusive one for that. They also have China Salesman today, which is the movie starring Mike Tyson, you know, and you know, Steven Seagal. That one released here as well. Yeah, it's funny, they have a thing out here which is all like the Rock's movies, all the things that he's been in here, all together. Like Game Plan, Gridiron Gang, Doom, Ballers, all the WrestleMania, a number of them, the Fast and Furious. And I guess he had a cameo in Gem and the Holograms? I can't remember. Same with Be Cool, but I don't remember what he did in Gem, unless that one's just like randomly there though. Into the pawn shop we go. And it's been months since I've been in this one, like months and months. Yeah, like I said, it's been a really long time since I've been in here. They used to actually have like a whole gigantic wall and all these bookshelves of DVDs and Blu-rays, but like a year or so back they got rid of that and kind of just put the stuff on a cart in the front, so they don't have as much stuff. But like the Blu-rays here, all the Blu-rays are $4, the standard DVDs are $1, and the TV shows are $2.50. So they're pretty decent prices here, and I've come across some really good stuff here in the past. Like one of the best out-of-print things I found here was like a year or so back, and it was the Keanu Reeves film called The Prince of Pennsylvania, and that's one you never come across. This is some weird like TV screener thing of the show Till Death, but Prince of Pennsylvania, that was only $1, and that was worth like $100 or something. One of the other really rare ones I found was the film Under Wraps, which was pretty cool as well to come across in here. So I have found some decent stuff in the past. Nothing like out of print like that valuable for a long time. And they have in here Bean, which I wanted to mention too. That's coming to Blu-ray next month in the US, so that one's finally getting a Blu-ray release in the US, so that's pretty cool because I've always absolutely loved that movie. And I looked through everything in there, and I ended up getting two things. The first one I got was Drop Dead Gorgeous, which this one recently went out of print, I think, and you know, I actually don't own this movie, and it's only like, it was only $1 for this one. This was like done like a mockumentary, kind of like a Best in Show type movie. I remember liking this one. I watched this one a lot when this first came out, but haven't seen this one in years. The other one I got, which you don't see too often, this show just ended. This is the complete second season of The Middle. This one was $2.50. This one ranges online from like $9 to like $15. It kind of depends, but you don't see this too often. Like I've seen it like at FYE and stuff, but they charge like $20 for it a lot of the time. So this was kind of an obscure one to find there. Like I said, the later seasons of this I think have released as like burn on demand ones, but I think like the first few ones I believe, you know, were not this one. At least I know this one isn't a burn on demand one, so I know the later ones I'm pretty sure have been the, like I said, the burn on demand releases. Into the Goodwill we go. In here they have this like weird thing in here, which is like Lion King Jr., which is some kind of like stage performance or something here. But this is one of those things, Get a Life Volume 1. I always think of this because it's one of the only releases I ever saw where they removed the laugh track from a TV show. It has a thing on here, alternate version without a laugh track, and I remember it had this real weird turned down volume with like removing the laugh track. Can you guys think of any other show where they did that? Like took the laugh track out? Like this is like one of the only ones that I can think of that did that, but this location, it definitely seems to have a little bit more than some of the other ones, but I'm not really seeing anything in here too different in here today, but I'll look through here and see if I can find anything though. Yeah, nothing really in there though. I looked through all the stuff. They definitely had more than some Goodwills, because some Goodwills really do not have a whole lot of movies at all, but nothing really different or out of print. Like I said, I looked through all the stuff in there, but yeah, I was trying to think though of any other shows where they removed like the laugh track like that. That's like one of the only ones I can think of though. Into Barnes and Noble we go. And the Criterion sale is going on in there right now. It's like everything's 50% off. And there's like one specific thing I want to try and find, so hopefully they've got it. And I will say this time around here for the Criterion sale, I felt like they were much more picked over than some of the past sales. This is one, Guillermo del Toro film I've never seen before. I really need to see this one at some point. But like I said, it seemed a little bit more sparse and picked over compared to past Criterion sales. Because I always used to feel like they had like a bunch of copies of some of the titles, like some of the newer ones last time around, or at least some of the other times I had looked for the past sales. But I didn't see as much this time. Like I said, it really was picked over. Luckily enough, though, they did have the one thing that was like the top thing that I wanted to get, but there were one or two other things that I was thinking about getting, but I wasn't seeing any of them this time around. Yeah, I ended up getting, John Waters' Female Trouble. I hope down the line they release, Polyester. That's one of the ones that I'm like really hoping they put on Criterion. Same with Pecker. But, they were actually really picked over on Criterion. Like a lot of times they usually have like a whole lot of copies of stuff, but some of the other ones I was thinking of looking at, like, were totally gone. So they definitely, they definitely sell a lot of these things for, for the Criterion sale. And it still goes till like, I think the first week of August, something like that. Into FYE we go. And in here, though, the first section I always check is the brand new used section, where the used stuff which has just been brought in recently that people sold. I don't feel like they have as much used stuff as they used to. In the years past, I feel like they used to have a ton of stuff coming in, and sometimes the prices on the used things are weird. Like this is like $26.99 for a copy of that. I Can Only Imagine, which recently came out, but that's just pretty high for that. But they always do have some interesting horror stuff in here in the horror section. Like they have this interesting edition of Warriors of the Wasteland, which I've never seen. I'm pretty sure there's a Blu-ray of that, though, and it's pretty cool. Return of the Living Dead 2 is finally coming to Blu-ray next month from Shout Factory with the original soundtrack on that. And they always have Arrow video releases in here, and they also have in here the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, if you guys haven't seen that, the exclusive Arrow Video FY exclusive slipcover edition. Yeah, I looked around there for a while. I don't feel like FYE buys as much stuff as they used to. I feel like, like years back they used to buy a whole lot more things, and I always look in there, when you see the tags for the used ones, because once in a blue moon I found some really, really, rare out-of-print stuff that the prices were really low on, but not in a long, long time, but nothing really in there too different today. But like I said, it's always cool to see. They always have the Arrow video releases in there, so it's always cool to see those ones in person in there. So that's definitely a cool thing. But nothing else really too different in there, though. And sorry, a lot of the places I've gone to today, I've been kind of talking over it, but it's like a lot of places have music, so I want to get a little bit of video in there. But when there's music playing, I gotta narrate over it later. Into Fry's we go. It's another place I haven't been to for a really long time, and they don't have that much stuff anymore lately, but every so often they have some really, really good sales on stuff, and there's they have certain movies that for one reason or another they have 30 plus copies of it, and they're like $2 or $3, so we'll see if there's anything on sale today. But in here, what I do is I always just look for these tags here, and every so often there can be really decent prices, where there's certain things that they have a whole ton of copies, like Victim for $2. It can sometimes be bigger titles, and then a lot of times it can just be kind of real random things in here. Seems like right now it's a lot of Well-Go USA titles for $2.99. I'm not seeing too many Railroad Tigers. That's kind of cool. They have in here. They have the Puppet Master one in here in the VHS style box. It has the toy in here and then the Blu-ray. That's pretty cool. I've never seen this one sold in any stores in person. That one's $34.99 for that one. And this past weekend, the only movie that I saw was The First Purge, which is, the prequel film to the Purge series. And this is basically showing how the whole thing kind of started. And it started as a government kind of experiment, and they were trying to see how people would react. And it was all set on Staten Island, because, the other Purge movies were set, all around America and everything. But this was all on an island in Staten Island. They were pretty much doing a test to see how people reacted. And anyone who stayed on the island ended up getting paid a certain amount of money, and then the people who participated in the Purge, they ended up, getting more money for participating, and they were wearing these kind lenses so the government could kind of watch and see how they reacted. And there was drones everywhere. It was definitely, it had a different kind of feel to it, since it was kind of the whole way it all started and everything. It wasn't perfect. I did like this one character who was this really crazy guy, and he was going around like really over the top and acting totally nuts, and he was going after one character, but he was so over the top, it's most over the top you can imagine. And I kind of like that aspect to it. Overall, though, this one wasn't absolutely perfect. I didn't love it. I did think it was still, like I said, the one character I really liked, but It's also going to be, they played a trailer too at the end for the Purge TV series, which I think is like, takes place after this one. And I for some reason, at first I thought it was going to be on Sci-Fi Channel, but it looks like it's going to be on USA. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. I think it's like 10 episodes or something like that. And I don't know how it's going to be on TV, because it's like, you know, since the movies are really kind of out there and R-rated and everything, I'm interested in seeing how they make it for TV, and if they end up like releasing it later on Blu-ray uncut. So I'll definitely watch at least an episode or so of that to see how it is. But you know, if you guys saw The Purge, you know, the first Purge, let me know what you guys thought of that, or what movies you got to see, you know, this past weekend, if you guys saw it. Into Best Buy we go. And like I mentioned, they have the exclusive Steelbook here of Quiet Place, and that one here is $24.99 for that one. I'm going to have a little look at this one, though, at the end of this video, though, showing you a closer look at this one. And in here, though, they also have 211 here as well. That one's $14.99. This is one of the other things that came out today. This is the only at Best Buy exclusive Steelbook here of the Equalizer, and that one here is $22.99 for this Steelbook one here, and this is in the Project Pop Art style. And you know, other than that, though, like I showed in the front, they have the Quiet Place, you know, only a Best Buy Steelbook. Other than that, though, I don't see anything else in here too different today, though. So anyway, though, guys, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray Tuesday shopping video today. Like I always say, if you guys enjoy these shopping videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Also in the comments, let me know if you guys picked up anything today on DVD or Blu-ray. Anyway, though, thanks again for watching and subscribing. Now stay tuned now for a bunch of new DVD and Blu-ray reviews. And the first one I got here from Arrow Video is a movie that I've always been a fan of this movie since I first saw the DVD. It is such a fun movie, and was so excited that Arrow was releasing this. It's a movie here called Doom Asylum, and this is absolutely a hilarious, strange movie that originally I thought was shot on video, but you know, this has got a brand new 2K scan, and it looks absolutely amazing. Like they did such a good job cleaning this movie up. It's essentially, though, about this like guy and his girlfriend who are like leaving town. They end up getting all this money. They end up getting into this horrible accident, and like his girlfriend dies and her head comes off, and he kind of cracks up. And it's like, the thing that's kind of funny too is you see him at the accident, he's got kind of like a scratch on his face, and like the very next scene he wakes up, you know, he's in the morgue and his face is all totally screwed up. And it's like they don't exactly explain that part, but he ends up in the morgue and these guys are getting ready to embalm him, and it turns out he's not dead. So he ends up waking up, and then he kills those guys and then lives out in the insane asylum hospital. Then it's years later, and it's about a group of these kids who are going to kind of party at the abandoned asylum. There's also a group of these girls there who are in this like rock band, and they're in there kind of rehearsing and stuff, and there's like, they're making this really crazy, really weird music, but they're in there. It's essentially, though, about him in there, and then the kids that are outside who came to kind of like, you know, explore this abandoned asylum. And like the one also, like her mother died in this area, so there's a whole lot of that other stuff as well. But essentially what goes on, though, is this crazy guy who's living in this asylum is going and killing them off one by one, and there's some really cool, crazy deaths in this. They did a really good job on the special effects on this movie. But what I really think is so funny is, you know, when they originally finished this movie, it didn't end up being long enough, because they wanted to get it released on video and everything, and it had to be a certain running time. So they had this one shot of the killer going and watching something on a TV, and like basically what they did was they had the rights to a couple of these like old films from the 30s, I think, and you know, it's pretty much about like when after every kill he goes back down and watches TV, and they show like 3 minutes of this movie that he's watching, and each time after each kill is a different movie that he's watching. So it's like really strange that he's going and watching this movie. But I thought it was like an amazing way that they padded this movie out to make it long enough. I love this movie. It's also Kristin Davis, you know, who was from Sex and the City. This was, you know, her first movie that she ever did. So this is like right before when she first started. The one actress too who was in Frankenhooker's in this movie. But like I said, 2K. It's got a brand new 2K scan on here. It looks great. It has on here a commentary track with the Hysteria Continues group, who have done commentary tracks on some other releases as well in the past. Some other companies and stuff, and I always love their commentaries. They have like really funny stuff, and like stuff they like kind of talk about how they've been a fan of the film, and like their kind of stories about how they first started, like how they came across the movie and everything. It's got an interview on here with one of the actresses, with the cinematographer on here, as well as the makeup artist on this. But a really, really great release in here. Like I said, love this new artwork on this one. And inside here it has some pictures and stuff like that, you know, some stills. from the movie. I'll see which ones I can show. Here you see the killer. Like, he has all these kind of like crazy weapons and stuff in the insane asylum that he goes after everybody with. Like I said, it is such a fun movie. Highly recommend you guys have got to check this one out. You know, just I don't know. I can't tell you how much I love this movie, and like was so happy when I heard that, you know, Arrow was releasing this. The next one, just want to let you guys know this is available from Arrow Video as well. This is a movie here called The Case of the Scorpion's Tail. This is a giallo film. This is from 1971. It's basically about this woman's, husband who ends up dying in a plane crash, and it's about her going to get the inheritance from the husband because he had this insurance policy out. But when she goes there, it's essentially kind of a weird thing about the death, and they're kind of looking at like the whole it's kind of being investigated, and there's some weird circumstances to it that look like almost like it could be an insurance kind of fraud thing. There's also other people kind of coming around for money as well, and there's like it deals with like a killer and all these kind of things going on. If you guys are a fan of giallo films, it's actually a pretty cool, interesting one here. This one as well has a brand new 2K restoration of the film. It has on here though the original Italian version as well as the English soundtracks on this one. Newly translated English subtitles on here for the Italian one, as well as a commentary track on here with the writer, as well as a new analysis on Sergio Mantone's films as well on this one. But a pretty cool giallo film if you guys are a fan of giallos. Next one here I want to show you guys. This was one that came out today. This is a only at Best Buy release for the Steelbook of the film A Quiet Place. And I talked about this film last week. I just want to give you guys a little look at the Steelbook here. It's a really cool film though about, essentially, and I put the sticker here, this only at Best Buy. This I just stuck that on here just to, show that it was only at Best Buy release. But this is from Paramount. And it's essentially though something happened in the world and there's these creatures out there. It's about Emily Blunt and her family, and it's, Emily Blunt and John Krasinski who directed this movie as well, and they're kind of like living in this world, and they're some of the survivors, where you cannot make a noise, and they have to kind of adapt to the whole world of being totally silent and everything, or some kind of creatures will come out and what these things are and, kill them. And it's a really, really cool movie, but like I said, just wanted to give you guys a little look here at the Steelbook release here of this one. This is an exclusive, Blu-ray DVD combo Steelbook with a digital copy as well here. Here's a little look inside as well at this. Like I said, this one is available only at Best Buy. The next ones here are from Lionsgate, and these are from the Vestron collection line. And this movie is such a cool movie. This is beyond Re-Animator. To say too, I love the look of these line as well, like the way these are designed, the slipcovers on these. And this is the third of the Re-Animator films. This is basically though about Jeffrey Combs' character, who is now, in the very beginning of this movie, you see him getting arrested because one of his experiments went awry and ended up killing this one girl. So he ends up getting put in prison, and it's, him in prison, and, in the very beginning, though, you see the girl who is getting killed by one of his, a character that he brought back to life. You see this boy witness the murder, and it's years later, though, Jeffrey Combs' character has been in prison. I think it's been 14 years, and the kid, has been trying to track down Jeffrey Combs because he just, found the vial of the green, substance that Jeffrey Combs' character has, Herbert West, to bring back the dead. So he's had that in his briefcase, in his bag for years, and he's always trying to figure out where he is. So he ends up, years later, gets a job at the prison as the prison doctor, and he wants Jeffrey Combs' character to be his assistant. And he's there trying to figure out exactly what this serum is and everything. And Jeffrey Combs, Herbert West, has been in prison for 14 years, kind of doing weird experiments on trying to bring back the dead, but he doesn't have all his equipment, but he can sort of doing what he can do. Bring back trying to experiment on rats and all kinds of weird stuff going on. I love this movie because it's once the doctor kind of comes there, him and Herbert West start doing some weird experiments, and there's some really weird stuff going on. It also has a woman there who kind of comes as the doing a news story on the prison and kind of about the treatment and everything. And I love, you know, the treatment of the prisoners, and I love the warden character. Like, the warden character in this is like this real mean, terrible guy, and the movie kind of has a throwback feel to like those 70s kind of prison films. It's got that kind of throwback vibe. This is just great. I really love this, and there's some really wacky, you know, special effects in this one. This has on here, though, you know, the transfer of this one looks great, though. Looks really, really good. Has some archival features on here, as well as some new stuff, but it has commentary track on here with the director. It has an isolated score selections with audio interview here with the composer. It has an interview on here with the director on here. It has a brand new interview with Jeffrey Combs on here talking about the film. It has a interview on here with S.T. Jauncey, the author of I Am Providence, The Life and Times of H.P. Lovecraft, because, you know, the Re-Animator series are based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft. Has a still gallery, vintage EPX featurette. But actually, though, I don't think there was many features, though, on the original release of this, when this first came out to DVD years and years back. I don't believe. This has on here Dr. Re-Animator, Move Your Bones music video. I do remember seeing that music video. I can't remember where I saw that, but a really great release and a really, really, really fun movie. If you guys are a fan of the Re-Animator series, this one, I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much, but it's definitely a must-watch. The next one here, this is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story as well. This is from Lionsgate's Vestron collection as well, and this is a movie called Dagon, and it's another one. I remember talking about this one, I think in a video years ago about the DVD of this movie. Another one, really loved the artwork on this here. And this is basically, though, about this guy who goes on a I think I'm pretty sure it was to Spain. He's going on a boat trip with this girlfriend and then his two friends. And this guy recently came into money because he has kind of like a .com kind of, this is around the time too when like websites were kind of starting up, .com and all that kind of thing. It took place in 2000. I think it was 2001 it was shot. But it's essentially, though, he just came into a lot of money, so he's going on this big boat trip with his friends to Spain, but he ends up right when he kind of gets this really small island. There's this terrible storm that happens. The boat ends up hitting a rock, and then the two friends, the one woman, she gets her leg trapped in the boat, and so he has to try and go to land with his girlfriend to try and get help. And he gets to this island. When he gets to the island, he gets like picked up by these guys, and it's like these really weird people on the island. They're like have like a really weird look, and they're all kind of hiding, and the island seems like really abandoned. And right when he gets there, the one girlfriend goes to the motel, and she goes missing. And it's kind of essentially the movie really picks up when he's trying to figure out what happened to her, and when he's like goes back to the hotel looking for her, and he's seeing these weird kind of creatures. This is such a cool movie. I've always been a fan of this movie. I have not watched this one, though, since I think, I don't know, maybe 10 years? It's been years, but I remember loving it, and then watching this again, it really holds up as well. It is, honestly, both of these ones were really great titles from the Vestron line. This has on here, though, a commentary track on here with Stuart Gordon. Stuart Gordon directed this as well. He was the director of the first Re-Animator movie. He also directed a really underrated movie with Muna Savarni called Stuck, which is a great movie. But it has a commentary track on here with Stuart Gordon and the star of this film. It has interviews on here with Stuart Gordon. Again, he's interviewed by Mick Garris. Some vintage featurettes on here. Archival interviews with Stuart Gordon. A storyboard gallery, still gallery, theatrical trailer. That's the one thing that's really cool, too, with the Vestron line, is they always put tons and tons of features on their releases. And the next one here is from Lionsgate as well. It's a movie here called You Were Never Really Here. This stars Joaquin Phoenix. And this is one of those movies where it doesn't explain everything to you. It's one of those movies where you really have to interpret a lot of what's going on, and you kind of have to make your own assumptions of things, because it's not one of those movies where you kind of find out everything. You kind of have to, like I said, put your own take on what you think is going on here. And essentially, though, in the very beginning, you see Joaquin Phoenix character, and he's like at this hotel, and this one girl, like you see somebody like a body, and he's like cleaning something up and leaves. But it's essentially, though, it's like he's like very sad. He's like, his character is really depressed, and he's always like putting bags on his head, and like very suicidal, and just in a really, really bad way all the time, his character. And he ends up getting called for this job because he kind of goes and does these kind of jobs, and like I said, you don't really know exactly everything that he's doing exactly. That's not totally explained, but he ends up getting called to try and track down this girl that was taken in by these kidnappers, and she was like the daughter of the senator, and they believe that she was taken in to this really, really heinous place with terrible stuff that's going on with this girl who's like I think she's supposed to be like 11 years old. But essentially, though, he has to go and try and find her and bring her back, and it's this really bad place. And it's essentially, though, it deals with, when he goes to try and get her, and it puts a spiral of everything around him goes horrific, and everything goes terrible, terrible, terrible. And that's all I really want to say about it. But Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job playing this guy who is just like I said, his character is so depressed and so downbeat, and he really did an amazing job in this role. But it is a very gloom movie. It says on here, the taxi driver for a new generation, and it's got that kind of feel to it with the way the movie flows. But like I said, it's one of those movies you really have to kind of make your own assumptions with things and really interpret it like what you think is going on. It's not one of those movies where everything is kind of like spoon-fed, and you know what I mean? I kind of like that it was kind of different. The next one here is from Lionsgate as well, and this is a movie here called Traffic. It stars Paula Patton and Omar Epps, and I really like this movie. This is from the director Dion Taylor, who also made a movie that I really thought was this is a serious thriller drama film. But he did a comedy movie called Meet the Blacks, which was like a parody of The Purge, which I really thought was really funny. Like, I really thought that was a hilarious movie. But this is a movie here called Traffic. It's essentially about Paula Patton and her boyfriend, played by Omar Epps, and they're going out to their one friend who has a lot of money. He has this kind of like house out in the kind of the middle of nowhere. But on the way, they end up stopping at this gas station, and Paula Patton's character sees this woman who in the bathroom, and she looks like she's like strung out and not doing very well, and she's sort of trying to say to her that she needs help. And she's really concerned about what's going on, and there's also all these bikers and these weird kind of people around outside, and kind of giving them weird looks and everything. But essentially, though, they end up leaving, and she's saying too how she's really worried about what she noticed, and it's kind of people are after them too. But then they kind of go away. It's definitely some odd stuff going on, but essentially, though, you see her drop this phone type thing into Paula Patton's bag, and these people who when you've kind of come to find out throughout the movie what's going on, they end up outside of this mansion that they're staying in, and it's not good. And it's kind of they have this phone that has these things on it, and they want to get it back, but these people are relentless, and they're want to kill them, and it is a total thriller of all kinds of insanity of what's going on, and what these bikers are up to in this small town, and this whole thing that you kind of come throughout. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything with this, but this is one, if you guys want a really tense, super tense thriller that is insane, definitely watch this movie. I really, really got into this. This has on here, though, a making of on this movie, but really, really well done movie. The next one here is from Warner Brothers. This is the movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, movie here called Rampage. This was based on the video game, which I wasn't that familiar with the video game. I remember seeing the artwork to it and everything, but I don't know if I ever played it for sure or not. But this is the 4K Ultra HD edition of the film. And this is basically, though, about The Rock's character who works at the zoo, and he has this, kind of relationship with this, because he's been taking care of this ape for years, and he's kind of become friends with this ape because he's been kind of taking care of him since he was little, and he's kind of the only one too that he will really react to or anything and really pay attention to. But it's this science experiment, these kind of canisters of this this stuff kind of fall out into certain areas out throughout the the world, and one of them ends up landing onto this ape and ends up kind of turning it into this. He starts growing, and like the people are kind of coming after him because of it. But it also drops off in these other areas, in like the swamp and another area as well, and it kind of like starts to have these things growing, and it's kind of like these creatures and everything. It's essentially though about the rock having to try, because like the monkey ends up, the ape ends up getting away, and he has to kind of try and go after him, and there's the stuff with like destroying the areas and stuff like that, these creatures that have kind of come from this experiment. This is a fun movie. It's like it's kind of got like sort of like a Godzilla kind of feel a little bit to it. Like it's sort of like that, especially because like the creatures kind of going after each other and everything, like that kind of vibe if you've seen the trailers. But I don't know. I'm always a fan of The Rock. The one actress in this movie too was from 28 Days Later. I've always been a fan of her as well. But this one has on here though a bunch of different featurettes on the film. It has on here about talking about the game. It has a gag reel, deleted scenes. I don't know, like I said, this is a really fun movie. 4K wise though too, if you guys have the capacity, this movie looks great. It's a super special effects type film too, with really big effects and everything. And the 4K too. It also has on here Dolby Vision as well. If you guys are interested, this one has that as well. But 4K, like I always say, is all about the HDR. That's one of the biggest things, which is the contrast levels and the brighter colors, and definitely does look great on 4K. The next one here is a 4K release as well, and this is a catalog release of, this is from Sony. This is a Denzel Washington film, The Equalizer, and the sequel to this is coming out, I think it might be like this week or next week. I can't remember for sure, but the second one. And it's the first sequel that Denzel Washington has ever done, too, for, throughout all of the years that he's been acting. But this movie is essentially, though, about Denzel Washington's character is sort of like, you don't know a ton about exactly what he was up to, but he was kind of like a guy who would kill people, and he was kind of like a hired guy, sort of. And he kind of has left that life behind, and he's trying his best to kind of do nothing with that anymore and kind of have a real peaceful life and just be away from all of what he had done in the past. But he ends up meeting this girl who's a prostitute, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, and she's this young girl, and he kind of becomes friends with her, and he starts seeing her at this diner, and they kind of become friends. But she ends up getting terribly beaten up, terrible by the pimps and everything that she works for. And it's essentially, though, about these terrible guys that she works for. And, Denzel Washington, his character ends up having to go back to what he had done. And he wants to, goes to get revenge on these terrible guys, this whole group of these guys. And it's like becomes intense. There's this great stuff, too, in here with him in like a Home Depot kind of place. But like he is like, this is definitely a very different role for Denzel Washington, because I'd never seen him in like something that was like this brutal, like to this, like it's kind of like a Liam Neeson kind of role a little bit, but like and even more like, because this is R-rated, so it's like way more like intense, like very, very intense, sort of like Death Wish as well, kind of that kind of role. This has on here though for the 4K, it has 5 never before seen deleted scenes, which is it features the character's epilogue, teasing the Equalizer 2, which is these deleted scenes had never been released before. It has on here though, as well as a whole bunch of different featurettes on the movie, as well as Vengeance Mode with Denzel Washington. Like I said, 6 featurettes, theatrical trailers on here. But looks, if you guys are have 4K, this is definitely one. Looks great on 4K. Definitely an improvement. This is also a very, very contrasty film. So definitely, the high dynamic range definitely boosts the colors and the contrast levels of this movie. But also, too, it's pretty cool that they, like I said, included the exclusive, 5 new deleted scenes for this release here. The next one here is from Universal, and this is the movie starring Amy Schumer called I Feel Pretty. And I saw this one in theaters as well. And I thought this was, sometimes people, give Amy Schumer's films kind of like negative like things to them and everything. But honestly, though, this was a fun movie. It's, this was the first, I think, PG-13 thing that she did, so it's kind of her humor more toned down a bit, though. But it's about her character, and she's kind of trying to, she's going to like a Pilates, like a kind of a spin cycle kind of class. She's trying to, trying to better herself a little bit, but she kind of likes how she looks, but she's also kind of not very confident, but she ends up bumping her head and falling off of the bike at the spin cycle class. And when she wakes up, she sees herself. It's got like a Shallow Hal vibe, because she sees herself as like an absolute model, like the perfect woman, the all-around perfect woman. And she goes and like thinks that she can do anything. And she, because of this confidence though, she ends up getting this like job. And but it's like kind of like having her saying like, oh, you know, it's talking about herself like she's absolutely perfect, and her friends are like looking at her like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You look the same to us. And she's like, can't you tell? I've done this and all that. And you know, but I will say though, my favorite stuff in this movie was Michelle Williams. I thought Michelle Williams steals the show in this movie, because she plays the woman that she ends up working for at this kind of design place. And Michelle Williams' character was great in this, and she plays this really great kind of very, very different kind of character for her. And I like seeing her in a comedy, because you know, she's always been in some, like in the last recent years, a lot of really heavy dramas, so it's kind of cool to see her doing something that was just a really fun, like silly movie. So as on here though, deleted scenes and a gag reel on this release here. And the next one I got here is from E1's line Momentum Pictures, and it's a movie here starring Nicolas Cage called 211. And this is basically, though, it's about Nicolas Cage as this cop, and he ends up getting, you know, this one kid. It's got a kind of like a couple different stories though. It's like originally about these people in the very beginning that like these terrorist kind of guys that did something bad, and this woman who's trying to track them down. But then it's like it also deals with this kid who ended up, you know, who's getting really in high school. He's getting really badly bullied by these kids, and he ends up like finally defending himself and knocking the one kid out, you know, but even though they were putting his face in the toilet and everything, but he ends up getting, you know, he's just about to get expelled for this, but they end up putting him in a program where he would go around with a cop to kind of see what, you know, what the cops go through and everything, and where he could end up if he didn't, you know, like a Scared Straight kind of program. But he ends up getting on the Scared Straight program, and he ends up getting in the car with Nicolas Cage and his, you know, partner. But this so happens to be the day that he's going on this, you know, ride along with him, the Scared Straight thing. He ends up being this terrible, you know, dealing with these terrorists, like I mentioned, you know, robbing this bank. And it's this terrible thing about them robbing this bank, and like Nicolas Cage, you know, they're kind of have all this planned out and trying to how they're gonna, you know, sort of cheat everyone to make it look like they're not doing it and everything. They have it all. These guys have it all planned out at this bank. But Nicolas Cage's character notices this car sitting out front, so he like goes in to investigate. And of course, this gunman kind of comes after them. But essentially, what this is it's a standoff at the bank with all these guys in there holding hostages, and Nicolas Cage and his partner are out there trying to figure out what they're gonna do. And this kid is sort of stuck between the whole thing. This is a crazy kind of like heist movie. I've always been a fan though of Nicolas Cage, and always like watching the stuff that he's in. So if you guys are a fan of Nicolas Cage though, I would definitely say if you guys like that and you like the idea of this one, like the story to this, check this out. This has on here though interviews on here with the cast and crew. This is also one I was reading too, that he was trying to get made for a long time. The next one here is from E1 as well. This is a movie here called Immortal Wars. This has got a lot of people in this. This has Eric Roberts, Tom Sizemore, Bill Oberst Jr. This is like a kind of like a, I guess you'd say sort of like a superhero sort of vibe kind of thing. It's like Eric Roberts' character. It's kind of hard to explain, but he's kind of it's sort of like set in the future, and he's like they force like post-apocalyptic future where people are kind of forced to fight these kind of alien type creatures, and Eric Roberts' character is kind of like the head of the whole thing, kind of like this, like kind of in charge of all of this. And it's basically though the people who are sort of the aliens, they have to fight them, and that's essentially what it is that sort of what it is, to try and like, you know, bring down them and like get rid of the aliens and everything. And it's kind of done for like entertainment. Like I said, like it's got a lot of different people in here. Eric Roberts is like throughout this movie, and Bill Oberst Jr. has a cool part, and I've always been a fan of Bill Oberst Jr. He's been in a lot of horror movies and everything, but like a pretty interesting movie. This has on here though a featurette in the movie, you know, as well as the theme song, music video on this one here. Next one here is from Wild Eye Releasing. This one, I really like this movie. It's a movie here called Dead House, and this is the unrated director's cut of the film. And it's basically, though, it's like a very brutal movie, though. It's about, like, these criminals who, in the very beginning, you see them, like, filming, like, this terrible stuff when they're, like, attacking this, you know, this family, and they show what they do to this family and everything. And like, they're real ruthless and everything. and you know the one's brother, he's like, you better film everything I do. And the main guy kind of reminds me like of a British Michael Chiklis a little bit. But essentially though, they end up, you know, terrible stuff happens in this house, and they end up looking for the next house that they're going to go to, and it's another family, and they end up in there. But this guy, he's like messing around. The guy in the new family they're going to, he's in his basement, and he's got like a lab down there, and you see like these kind of weird kind of people in there, and you see very beginning too, you saw like these zombie type things eating somebody, so you know that there's some type of creatures in this house, in this basement. And of course these criminals go in there, and the second they're in there, when they kidnap them and like the terrible stuff they're doing to the family, they're all tied up and everything, they start hearing things in the basement. And it's essentially though about these criminals, and it deals with like the ruthless stuff that they're doing, but then these things in the basement. And it's kind of like, you know, that you know, you can tell too from the back and stuff that this is going to become a zombie film. And it's like a mix between Last House on the Left kind of thing going on in this house, but then a zombie movie. And I know it's a very short movie though too. It's one of those movies that really goes by really fast. But I like this. It wasn't like all around perfect in every sense, but it was pretty decent movie, honestly. This has on here though actor interviews, deleted scenes, location behind the scenes on this one as well. There's also a trailer on here for this movie with Casper Van Dien that they're releasing too, Wild Eye. It looks pretty cool about like them making like this horror movie in this insane asylum, and then like ghosts are kind of haunting the set. I can't remember what it's called, but I know that I think it's coming out in August. The next one here is from MVD. This is in Film Rise, and this is a pretty good documentary here called 24 by 36. This is all about poster collecting, kind of about well, it's basically interviews with poster artists, some of the early poster artists from the films from like, you know, the 70s and 80s, kind of talking about how different poster arts were back then, and how a lot of it was about like hand painted and like and then it kind of went into like being, you know, floating heads and like real digital and CGI kind of covers and all that sort of thing. This is all kind of about that, and kind of has interviews too with new artists who are making like the Mondo type prints and those kind of things. Some of the artists from there talking about the people who have done work for you know, Arrow video releases and all kinds of like the niche horror lines and everything, you know, the new artwork for them. So it's a pretty cool thing on here, talking all about that kind of stuff and like the resurgence of, you know, drawing kind of artwork on horror movies and poster artwork. And it's like I said, it has all the kind of artists, like the artists from Jaws and everything, you know, and you know, on this one. So it has on here though 30 minutes of additional you know, interviews on this one. Next one here is from Wild Eye as well. This is from their line, Wild Eye Raw and Extreme. This is a movie called All Strippers Must Die. This is essentially done as like a found footage type movie. And it's a, you know, in this strip club down in the basement, some really weird stuff had happened, and this one like woman had ended up like kind of dying, and it was like all kind of weird stuff that was up to down there, and like weird seances and everything. And this filmmaker wants to go on there and do a documentary on this place and kind of talk about the weird history of it. And of course, it's like him going in there, talking to the owner about weird occurrences, and they're showing like weird footage of things that they witnessed at night, and like, you know, camera footage and stuff from the security cameras and everything, and talking to ex-people that used to work there. But essentially, though, they go back down in the basement for this documentary, and then it's kind of like all hell breaks loose, and it becomes all kinds of a big mess and everything. And it's like crazy stuff goes on in the strip club here. And the last one here, just want to let you guys know, this one is available from Time Life, and this is Ronan Martin's Laugh-In. You know, this was originally available in the complete set, but now this is available in the single releases. They've been releasing these ones little by little, and this is Ronan Martin's, like I said, Laugh-In, the complete 5th season here. This has on here some of the guest stars that are on this season. It has Steve Allen, it has Johnny Carson, Johnny Cash, Carol Channing, Henry Gibson, Gene Hackman, Hugh Hefner, Debbie Reynolds, Sugar Ray Robinson, so tons and tons of people, John Wayne, Tiny Tim, and it has a bunch of different features on this release here as well. But like I said, just want to let you guys know, this one is available now in the single release. But anyway though, guys, that's all for the review portion of this video. Thanks again for watching, subscribing, I'll see you guys later.